the Florian Triangle.
You guys ready? You got your purple drink? What are you drinking, Aggie?
That's right. You know, since we revealed my true identity as being a narcotics trafficker on the last episode, no, this is Walmart Great Value Berry Energy Mix that's settled at the bottom of some lemonade.
Oh, 50 berries, just like Chopper's Bounty.
Oh.
Right.
Speaking of which, folks, you know what? I'm leaving it in because it's a huge celebration. We made it to Volume 45 of the One Piece Virgin's Egghead Book Club podcast, covering chapters 431 to 440 of, as Eggy might have predicted, the Return to Water 7 arc. And folks, I'm not going to guarantee anything, but if you look down at the time code and it's anything less than 2 hours, then we certainly did not do a thorough job.
Do it justice, yeah.
This might be the most dense, information-packed, huge revelations every second volume of anything I've ever read in my life. To be quite honest, I did not remember just how much shit was in here. Usually on this show, we do something called the top of mind, where like, oh, what's the biggest thing from the volume that is sticking out to you? I feel like you could do an authentic top of mind for every single chapter in this volume, and perhaps multiple from each chapter. It's just crazy. Of course, I am the captain of the measly crew, Mumkey D. Jones, joined as always by my vice captain, Aggie V. Rodriguez.
That's right. I can't believe my eyes, what I've soaked up in this volume. It is truly monumental. I anticipated a transitory volume, as I like to say, between major arcs, but I mean, this, I would still classify it as that, but I think just how much is packed into it, it's probably better than some volumes that have actually been going on like mid-arc before.
And you might notice we have company. We promised from now on, every 5 volumes, we'll have a guest. We had Heartsy for 40, and for 45, we have from Is It Kino and from Anti-Reviews, and of course, the Purple Colonel cast. It's Erich McCoy.
That's right, leader of the Revolutionary Army, Erich McCoy. Yeah, I am glad to have read some One Piece, and as I've only watched One Piece throughout most of this, some of this stuff was either new to me, or it was stuff that kind of glazed by when I first saw it, and now I'm getting a more full perspective on what's going on here. So
you're a bit of a One Piece manga virgin in a way.
So I did read the first couple of chapters. I've also read the Skypiea arc of One Piece, and now I've read this volume as well. So I've kind of like dotted through the...
You know, far better than most people can say. What did you think of... No. You know what? I'll save it. We need to know Virgin Aggie's top of mind before I spoil what it could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I think we could all agree that it's pretty cut and dry, pretty obvious what it should be.
What? How? How could you possibly say that?
I mean, this was just something that the emotion was on another level. That is, not to spoil it. This is something that is towards the end of the volume, so you might want to skip 5 seconds here. The death of the great Lieutenant Spacey.
Oh. Yes, I was going to ask Erich, as somebody reading the manga the first time, what'd you think of Eneru on the moon here? And yeah, he meets his new friend, Lieutenant Spacey.
Lieutenant Spacey. Like, I need to go back and see the other cover stories that, like, started this, just to get the full perspective.
It's literally just Eneru. So he's on his ship flying towards the moon. On the moon. He lands on it. He jumps in a crater. That's it.
There's this, like, chopper kind of creature that's there that he's met up with, I guess.
He finds a corpse, and then he zaps it, and then it wakes up. Like, he brings it back to life, seemingly.
I see. Okay.
And he says, like, zap first, ask questions later, which is pretty interesting.
Where does this go? Does this ever get followed up on? And, like, or is this just kind of like the misadventures?
This is the Virgin podcast. We can't talk about the future.
Wow. Okay.
If you spoil anything for Aggie, I'll execute you. Be careful.
Because I was going to talk a lot about Vegapunk.
Too bad. Too bad.
Damn.
That like
Okay,
Cyberpunk.
all right.
I've heard about that game before.
Yeah,
I just
Vegapunk
don't know.
2099.
This might be something that's a little Virgin-esque to Erich, but there sure does seem to be an awful theme of like mole type creatures or like rodent, because we had that with Gadatsu. Maybe it's just only relegated to the Skypiea cover story characters. But it was very interesting because just somehow when I saw that first picture of Spacey before he was even known, just the way that like his body was drawn, there's no inclination. He's got like what looks like human fingers, as far as I could tell, but just somehow instantly I just suspect that he was some kind of mole person. Then I thought about it a little bit later on. I was like, oh, he could have been the general from the General Insurance commercials. That's kind of the origins. But I don't know. Like for some reason, I had no reason to believe he was going to be a mole person. But
Spacey is looking for work. I think Spacey could definitely fill in for the general if he's looking to get that bag.
Spacey is dressed like an American army man, right? And then when he's crying over the corpses of his friends, one of them is dressed like a samurai. One of like it's like different soldiers and battle
is this a
from
Predators
around the
type
world
situation where different warriors from throughout the world have been teleported to this moon?
Well, that's the question for Virgin Eggy. What the hell species is this? And then even at the end, we have a space pirate that looks like some sort of otter man and attacking Spacey, of course. What do you make of all these creatures and aliens, Eggy?
Well, maybe just it's a recency bias, but like when I see all these different, very similar, but obviously unique characters who all, as you mentioned, have these sort of combat positions, like low-ranking combat, seemingly. I'm thinking about like Mickey 17. For those who don't know, it's like a sci-fi movie that came out a few months ago where basically the premise is a guy keeps on getting like regenerated. He gets sent off into space to do work. He dies because he's not able to survive in the conditions. But then once he dies, they just bring him back from like a human save file. So I don't know, for some reason, just maybe it was the outer space component here combined with the lethality component. For those, I guess, what came to mind. And
so these are all Spacey clones, and he's like finding his old corpses of his past adventures.
Yeah, that's just what came to mind for me.
That'd be cool as hell.
It could be like a Jaya situation where maybe, like he had ancestors. I'm guessing corpses don't decay on the moon, so maybe he had like ancestors that came up, did something, and were lost, and it just was like a repeating cycle where trying to get back up there and see what's going on.
And is the idea that this is a living biological creature that was dead, but we saw Enel bring himself back to life through electricity, so just shocking it revived its heart, maybe?
Could be.
I think that's plausible, yeah. I don't think it's going to help now after being speared, but, hey, maybe it's the moon. Anything could happen. Enel, he's got powers. I trust him.
Anything can happen on the moon.
And then this Pluto dog that was walking on 2 feet with really high britches has like clocks in his arms and in his stomach, so maybe he could turn back time. Something could be going on there too, but these are just all some thoughts that came into my head as I was going through the cover story and trying to feel my intuition out. And my intuition was, it was pretty good this volume, I gotta say. I didn't expect the angle that came as far as getting the ship, but it did happen, and I'm also I'm going to be truthful about my actual top of mind. That was a close second, believe me. But
let's briefly finish that then while we're here, and we don't have to come back to Enel.
Sure.
You jokingly described Spacey as Enel's friend, but we know Enel has a mantra. He certainly knew this dude was coming up behind them to stab his friend, and Enel's face the whole time, he's just like kind of like interested, like, He does not look concerned at all. So he's just letting it happen. Do you think he's going to attack the space pirate as revenge or out of boredom, or he's just going to let him go?
He might seek some information from him, perhaps, because, this is supposed to be the endless farce. Not shouldn't be having, giant dogs with clock arms going around killing willy-nilly. I think if they're able to have an understanding, I think he's gonna want to get some information, or maybe even just trail him back. But if he's swinging that spear around like a madman, he might be getting fried, just like Homeboy Spacey, to be honest.
Okay, let's get Aggi's actual top of mind, and Erich, you think of one too, because you're going next.
Yep.
Well, I don't want to be that guy that's going to take everybody else's top of mind.
I think there are genuinely 20 good ones.
That's pretty true, yeah. Well, just as was foretold in the SBS, the world's worst criminal, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, other than Erich McCoy, I'm talking about Monkey D. Dragon.
Did you even remember Chapter 100, that there's this lasting mystery of who's this guy that saved Luffy from Smoker? And all these chapters later, he finally just lays it on us out of nowhere. While Garp is picking his nose, like it's just so nonchalant, this huge bombshell.
I mean, he referred to Garp as his grandpa, but then, I was thinking maybe there's still like some Garp connection here somewhere. And Frank, is the reveal, I think, after the Helmeppo and Koby update? Because I mean, that was equally as shocking to me. I don't think it's impactful. I don't think it has much weight to it, which is why I'm not gonna consider it quite up in the rankings of top of mind rankings. But that was also very shocking. A lot of shocking things happening in this volume, but. I think for me, even more so than the reveal of Luffy's father, is just the I don't want to say legacy because he's still living, but just the notoriety perhaps that this character seems to have around him, seeing as we hadn't really had him be referenced other than him being in Logtown and having the wind of fate that he was able to produce to sort of correct things that were going on. Which then would kind of, make you think, has he been surveying the happenings this whole time? Because we haven't been clued into any of that. But just, the reaction to everybody that everybody has in Water 7 upon hearing this, that's in the vicinity to hear it. And also just the descriptors that are given to him by Oda, the look he's got going on. It's heavy stuff, in my opinion.
On the subject of Dragon's notoriety, I think it was very intentional that I think it's in the same chapter when Shanks is revealed to be an emperor, a pirate emperor, one of the 4 Yonko is what I'll call them for you, Aggie, the Yonko. Nami's like, I'd heard of Shanks from Luffy, but I didn't know anything about that. But then when they say Monkey D. Dragon, even she's terrified, like, holy shit! So he's far more known than even Shanks, who's an emperor.
Yeah, and this also, I think, just that classification now also being brought into the lexicon for these emperors, I'm seeing that also as a new hierarchy of power, I think, is going to be forming as far as what we have knowledge of in the canon story, because we're going from East Blue Boom right now, we're on the Grand Line, and we have these pirate warlords who are still chewing on. We have Mihawk's a warlord, as I recall correctly, so that's still a whole very high power tier, and now the 4 emperors are like, supposed to be above that, and
so
we do get a
somebody.
taste.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we get a taste, at least in my opinion, of Shanks's raw power that's described in a way I won't touch on quite yet, but I think it's the first power of its kind that we have had exposed to us at this point. Yes,
hockey conquers hockey. Can somebody refresh my memory here? Is the duel with Mihawk the last time we saw Shanks, or has something else happened since then?
Did Shanks duel with Mihawk?
Oh wait, am I? Shit, that was that Ace, or
Zoro in chapter 55?
Motherfucker!
What are you talking about? What did One Piece do to the edit?
Well, now I must be misremembering shit, but it was also fucking so long ago that I've seen this shit.
Towards the end of the East Blue saga, I think Mihawk finds Shanks and they meet up and share some alcohol. They're just chilling out.
Okay, that must be what I remember.
Yeah, they're buddies at this point. He's like, oh yeah, you only have one arm? I'm not even going to waste my time challenging you, pussy.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be embarrassing to beat you now. Is that it for your top of mind for now, Aggie?
I think, yeah. One of you guys might say something that'll like make me maybe rethink it, but I don't think so. I feel like it was, for me, the most weighted for what we hadn't known and what just the introduction, because we have, I think that with Shanks and Whitebeard and Ace, that's all very strong here in this story, but we had some inference on their relationships prior. I think this is so new that is going to give it that leg up for me.
On Monkey D. Dragon, are you satisfied with that being the answer for this mysterious man who saved Luffy? That it was his dad?
Yeah. I think if he had the forethought and the capability, and it was something, just a little tiny preview just to get him into our memory banks at least, because if there had been no inclination, I think, of his existence, obviously Luffy's got to have some father, but if we had nothing, not even the tiniest bit to go off of prior to this point, I feel like maybe it would have actually lessened the weight of it, because it's sort of like,
this is evidence that Oda was cooking it from the beginning. Like he baked it in to prove it to us.
Kind of like Nibbler's shadow in the Futurama pilot.
But at this point, though, some people say I'm smelling bullshit, because this very volume we learn that Luffy's grandpa is a vice admiral, a legendary marine who fought Gold Roger himself 1v1, and he doesn't have much more than one scar on his damn face to show for it. And then Luffy's father is the most dangerous, notorious criminal in existence and the leader of the Revolutionary Army. So Luffy is no longer just some random boy raised by bandits who was inspired to become a pirate. He's like part of the most famous family in the world, pretty much. Yeah. Like, how do you feel about that, Aggie and Erich?
Like a legacy of one of the most powerful, groups, both the Navy and the we already know about Garp, but the Revolutionary Army too.
Well, I think let me see if I have the name handy here, because I think this was what was it top here? Damn it. Oh wait, okay, yes. Does Dadan know about this? This is what the mayor from Luffy's hometown was saying. Do I know who Dadan is? I don't know if I know that.
You will definitely know who she is at some point, but at this point,
that's
probably
my
not.
thought. Is, to me, I understand where people who are critical of this would be coming from, like, oh, Luffy the Nepo baby, oh, what, born into all this stuff going on.
This is Naruto all over again. Spoiler alert.
But I think if a man was essentially orphaned, more or less, or at least, left to be raised, by whoever, that's why if we're Dadan sounds like it could be mother, but I don't know. So maybe there's something there, but still at the same time, even if it is just being raised by a single mother, if he has no real connections, he wasn't necessarily left anything by his elders other than just his genetics and just the bloodline. And then furthermore, the fact that he was almost killed, and then Shanks sacrificed his arm to save Luffy, and kind of had maybe a greater father figure presence that instilled this sort of drive into him to become king of the pirates, more so than anything that was instilled into him by Garp or Dragon, because Garp and Luffy, I think Luffy says it actually in his interaction with Garp, he's like, the only thing you ever did in my life was just punch me. So he's not really having any sort of paternal guidance from either of his grandfather or his father. So where I could see it being critiqued, I also feel like there's enough plausible deniability that bloodline necessarily was going to ingratiate him into like this great story. I think it's really his own will and his own mindset, his own dedication to achieving his great dreams that have put him at the level that he's at.
I think what's most important for me is that Luffy ignores the call of destiny no matter what. Garp says, I trained you to be a Marine. I want you to be a Marine. His father as a revolutionary, hey, maybe he wants his son to be a revolutionary, but Luffy, he takes the third option to be a pirate, does not care about what his family legacy has to say, didn't know who his father was, did not care. Grandpa is just the dude who kept trying to kill me when I was a kid, and I love that dialogue. I don't know how many times Grandpa almost killed me when I was small, and Garp says, don't say things like that, it'll give people the wrong impression.
And then just immediately is ready to beat the shit out of him anyway, after not seeing him for years.
What really... Oh, go ahead, Erich.
I don't know. It's so funny to me how much stuff just rolls off Luffy. Like, he just does not care. Like, this major reveal happens with Dragon, and he's just like, yeah, all right. So my dad is that. Something
that stuck with me when I first saw this was Luffy's fear when he yells at everybody, do not attack him, he will kill you. This is fresh off of like Luffy fighting Rob Lucci and stuff, but like he actually is terrified of Garp and knows his crew cannot hold a candle to him and will be killed. So that really stuck with me, how powerful Garp is. And then when you say that he cornered Gold Roger multiple times, I mean, this has got to be top tier. And we can get more into Garp later with his cannonball arm and all that. Truly insane. And I did buy the DLC in the One Piece Burning Blood video game, so we can play as Garp on stream, Aggie. Garp versus Lucci.
That's right. You know what? I like to compare their power levels. I think, Garp...
I think Garp might have that one. Erich, what is your top of mind for Volume 45?
All right, my top of mind is going to be that we have got a new ship, the 1000 Sunny, I believe it's called. I'll do that.
That's right.
And I love Franky, so it's great that Franky has built them this ship, and he's going to be the shipwright for... I feel like I'm doing two here. Not only did they get a new ship, they also got a crew member, Franky, the shipwright, to take care of it as well. So I think that's a huge addition to the crew. I think it's great that they've got a good ship, and I think we'll see more about the ship as the series goes on here.
What's your impression of the new ship, Aggie? Does it compare to the Going Merry? Because personally, at first, I thought it was a downgrade in terms of design. It's grown on me, but I love the goat head way more than the sunflower lion, even though I like it now, and it fits symbolically much better, but we'll get to that in 600 chapters.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like it makes sense, but it's not comfortable yet. Like that's probably the best way to explain it. But the Going Merry, even beyond just the way that it ingratiated itself throughout the adventures, we saw its capabilities and what it could bring to the table, even as maybe a bit of a weaker vessel, relatively speaking. But just seeing what it was capable of. I really did like the sheep design. It reminds me of, good old starting times, which we get a little flashback to here at the end of this volume, which was really appreciated for me. Shout out to all the syrup villagers out there.
Who we get to see. We get to see pretty much every character from East Blue in this volume.
Right. It kind of reminds me of like the first time I built a gaming PC. I wanted it for so many years, and I finally saved up and built it, and it, really stayed with me for so long. I still have it, basically just collecting dust and rotting in storage somewhere. Just like what I didn't give it the proper send off, like with the Merry God being set on fire and all. But now we have the big beefy, top of the line, 100 million berries ship with black market material construction. Who doesn't want that? So objectively, it's all good and everything fits, but
it can shoot 3 barrels of cola to shoot itself up into space. How do you like that? That's great. You can do a full Skypiea blast anytime you want.
Fucking wild. And then also there's a lawn. There's a lawn on the deck of the ship, which is great.
Was that spoiled for you? Because we were playing Burning Blood, and one of the maps is fighting on a grassy lawn on a ship. Did you know that would be the Straw Hat ship? What did you think that was? Just some random shit?
Feeling it would be a ship that was sailed on eventually, but yeah, the grass on it didn't even really register for me. I try to stay somewhat mentally disconnected and not too attentive to certain things. Like if I, like some of those characters in the in-game menu that we're not familiar with yet, I just kind of like go through a mental flush afterwards.
You got to focus on the controls and how you're going to beat my ass.
That's right, because it hasn't happened yet, but you know what? Practice makes
perfect. As soon as Eggy beats me one time, we'll be ready to stream that game just so it's a fair fight.
And I can say, a little off track here, but I found out my computer can do PS4 games, so I could even practice Burning Blood in the comfort of my own home.
That's a great idea. You should stream that. I'd watch the fuck out of that.
What's the best One Piece fighting game?
Burning Blood for PS4. Eggy, I could give you the stream key for this channel, and you could stream One Piece game here on Mumkey D. Jones. If you wanted to. I mean, I know, Kick or whatever the fuck you're on.
$50 still?
Rumble.
What the fuck?
Plug in this channel,
it came out in 2016.
They haven't made one since. That was before Whole Cake Island. Like, it has Dressrosa and below.
Good lord. Okay.
Any other thoughts on the ship, Erich?
I think it's a cool looking ship. I like all of Franky's it's got a big one on it. Like, it just looks kind of crazy. Like, I wonder if there is more going on with the ship, if it's numbered there. Is there a 2 somewhere?
Yeah, because it's certainly not the number 1 ship they've been on. If anything, it should be number 2. Or at least battle Franky 38.
Right. Exactly.
I like Franky. He has his cool Battle Franky name for the ship, but Luffy goes with Iceberg's name instead. Is Thousand Sunny the name you would have chosen?
I probably would have chosen boar. They have these combination animal names. I probably would have chosen one of the combination animal things.
Is King of the Seas any more generic than, because it's you want to be the Pirate King, it's the lion.
Yeah.
Thousand Sunnies spreading sunshine on the 1,000 seas. There's only, as far as I know, 6 seas. The Grand Line, the New World that we learn about, huh? What do you know about the New World?
They fucking introduce so much in these fucking chapters. What the fuck?
Oh, the New World, they when they're speaking of Shanks, they say the 4 emperors who are, they made it to the second half of the Grand Line, the New World. Well, I know we are very early on had the final island of the Grand Line sort of hinted at, that it was only the Gold Rogers crew that made it there or something along those lines. So I guess we've quantified the distance and everything with the Grand Line to cut it into 2 halves, but
right, because the Red Line bisects the world anyway, so much like how they went over Reverse Mountain, evidently Fishman Island, you'll have to go now under the Red Line to get to that.
Well, I guess I'm trying to I understand, we're gonna have a power scaling. I'm sure there's gonna be greater odds, but just coming off of declaration of war on the world government and the explosive increase of bounties for every single member of the Straw Hat crew, I just feel like it's gonna get a lot more dicey. It's a good thing that they've got this new ship and that it's got some of these new powers, these new capabilities, because I think it's going to be very necessary if we're needing to. This is we have the East Blue, that's kind of the starter zone, and then we're in the Grand Line. That's kind of the first place. Obviously, I like to make World of Warcraft references because that's such a dear part of my life. The Grand Line's your first PvP zone. I'm thinking whatever comes next has got to be Stranglethorn Vale, Burning Steps, which means it's just bullets flying at your head 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Ain't none of this, oh, la-di-da, I'm gonna go pull up over here. If you gotta be real, salty spittoon, nail munching, acid drinking beast to be, in the Emperor's territory. That's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, lands that are controlled by pirates rather than Marines. And we've seen time and time again, maybe the pirates have more diabolical powers than Marines typically do, so it's just going to be a lot harder to get through anywhere.
They might have some of that, the Marines have their little political things where they can be manipulative and they can be scheming and conniving, and pirates, I just got my hockey power. I just walked over and I used claps because my power's that great. It's like, oh, fuck.
So early on, I asked you, will Luffy have to fight all 7 warlords? And we're like, oh yeah, probably each one will get their own little arc. But now we have even a higher level of pirates, these 4 Yonko. Do we think Luffy will have to fight all of them, including Shanks? He's going to go through Whitebeard and whoever the other 2 are.
Well, I think it's got to be inevitable. I feel like even Luffy's own father, because Luffy wants to be king of the pirates. Now, maybe if people aren't necessarily pirates, or maybe they're doing something else, maybe they could be having some piracy, and then maybe they could move and be established in some sort of, leading role for their island, their nation, whatever. But I think anybody who is still having skin in the game, as far as piracy is concerned, has to be at least a potential target for the Straw Hat crew, because how are you going to be the king of the pirates if you got somebody else that's still holding their nuts over you? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're still acting big dog, and in Whitebeard's case, I've never seen such a physically imposing man yet in this entire series. I don't think other than the Giants, maybe he's like 5% Elbathian or something, but.
Ooh, is that Eggy's theory? Whitebeard has 5% giant blood. That's a good theory. That would explain a lot, because he's fucking like 30 feet tall.
Yeah, because the fishmen were still more physically imposing than humans, but like Whitebeard's just, there's nobody that I've seen in the story quite like him. Like Teach comes close, but still, even so, I think Whitebeard at full mast, hashtag no Diddy. I think he's really all up and loose and ready to go. I think he's huge.
Okay, my top of mind, boys. I think it's a bit of a miracle that Erich ended up being on this episode in particular, because we get the name drop of the Florian Triangle. I could not resist teasing in a previous episode, but finally Kokoro put pen to paper and wrote it down for us all to read. Our boy Florian has his own 3-pointed shape somewhere in the ocean. What's the deal?
Florian Triangle.
Geez, damn.
Now, Eggy, what comes to mind when you hear the story of the Florian Triangle, where 100 ships go missing every year and there's just ghost ships and, the people are gone?
Well, it sounds similar to the Bermuda Triangle, but I would imagine the Florian Triangle is you show up and there's a bunch of pirates that are all in agreement with a popular opinion, and you just start developing the opposite opinion of whatever everybody else is saying.
And then they all kill you and take your ship?
Is it called that because there are games that are announced that never come out in that triangle?
Long Ring Long Land Arc number 2. More games, but there's no games to play because they didn't finish making them. That'd be really depressing. Of course, Bermuda Triangle is the real world equivalent, and I did not realize this, but the Bermuda Triangle, one of the points is Florida. So Florian, Florida, he's just naming it after literally the same shit. So Florian, Florian's only in One Piece because of Florida. How do you like that?
Wow. Actually, I would love to see Florian interact with Florida, any resident of Florida, and see what he makes of that.
He did. He debated Emp Lemon in the Mario movie podcast.
Oh, right.
You know what?
Is it true that
Hopefully-
the Bermuda Triangle does not have like a significant number of disappearances? It's kind of like it's the same for any other part of the ocean.
Yeah, I think just because there's so much traffic there that it just
Yeah,
seems
right,
like a
right.
lot, but it proportionally it's the same. So it's just an old wives sort of fun thing that we're bringing into One Piece, and perhaps it'll be a little more deadly in this scenario. And they say that the next stop is Fishman Island, Aggie. So how long until we get to Fishman Island, do you think? How long is this Florian Triangle going to take? Is he going to go on a big tangent about his sugar babies and his wet schnitzel?
Well, actually,
pizza.
I think that Florian Triangle is not. I don't think it's going to take too long because, when I'm thinking about Florian in Florida, I'm thinking deep fried alligator tail. He's not a vegan, so really he's even more American than some Americans in that regard.
Yep.
So this is completely baseless, pointless, and stupid, but just for the sake of fun, I think that there has to be some sort of large alligator Neptunian creature in the Florian Triangle.
This is where the banana gators come from that crocodile stole.
Mm.
I think that's a fair. Now let me really think here for a second. Ghost ships. Okay, well we know the last time we had a ghost ship, it was falling out of Skypiea and crashing into the ocean. So
That's right.
I would like to think there should not be a sort of defensive force or like a bandit force around the Florian Triangle. I feel like it's whatever danger is ahead there is going to be naturally occurring, or at least as naturally occurring as something on the Grand Line can be. It's going to be unlike the Bermuda Triangle that's just urban legend. This is going to be the real deal. It's especially if we're talking about the entrance of the New World. We're talking about how you're saying the bisection of the Red Line. We know that the Grand Line has a reputation for very bizarre geological and ecological circumstances that don't really occur anywhere else. So I think this might just be taking that to a new, maybe not a new peak, but I think that's going to play into what the Straw Hats will be experiencing in this area. I think it's going to be ramped up beyond what you would typically expect just for normal average circumstances. So I think it's what else.
Well, considering One Piece is often very genre bending, are we going to have a bit of a spooky horror story in the
horror
Florian Triangle?
inflected story.
Can One Piece handle comedy and horror at the same time? Are we going to go full Tim Burton in One Piece?
Is it going to be camp?
I could definitely
Camp horror.
see that angle. Yeah, like I feel like that would fit. When we were just talking about Scooby-Doo and the Boo Brothers, I feel like I could definitely see the Straw Hats like in a Scooby-Doo kind of situation where there's some kind of ghosts or something like that. Davy Jones' locker. We haven't really touched on things like that yet. It's really a big component of piracy and shipfaring culture. That there's something down there at the bottom of the sea.
Okay.
So maybe, I don't think there's any inclination for this yet, but we've seen also that the Thousand Sunny has this cola-based like rocket jump power. Maybe it's got some submarine power too. Maybe, that would be wise to have, considering that if we're gonna need to
Go to an
submerge.
underwater island. Yeah, Kokoro didn't really tell us how to do that. Fucking bitch. But hey, that's all of our top of minds, and we have a new member of the measly crew that needs a position on the ship. Erich, every time somebody becomes a paid member, we tell them what their job is on our pirate ship, so
okay.
maybe you can help out. Mm-hmm. This guy's name is Pazuzu93. Pazuzu 93.
Okay, so we need some jobs. What have been some of the
like a shipwright.
I
I think we don't have a shipwright yet. Maybe we should give it to him since Franky joined as the shipwright.
guess it's Franky. Yeah.
And
All right, Pazuzu, I hope you know something about engineering because you got to keep this shit afloat.
when I think about Pazuzu, I'm thinking about zoom, zoom. You know, so that's fast. 93. What is premium fuel? 93 octane fuel. So it all adds up for me.
And they did build the ship very fast overnight. Tom's workers reunited. Oh, you love to see it. It's beautiful. Oh, the fact that Tom was taken away by Eddie's lobby, and then Luffy is the one who gets revenge on them, and then his workers build Luffy, the ship, just like Tom built it for the Pirate King. It's so poetic, it's beautiful, everything rhymes. It's what George Lucas intended with the prequels, but failed. Beautiful writing. Oh, how many tears were shed? Anybody? I think for me, the saddest, and I did not actually cry, but I came close, was when Iceberg gave this speech to Franky. Hey, I know you're only still here because you feel guilty about what happened to Tom, and yes, it mostly was your fault for making all those Battle Franky ships, but you need to forgive yourself. Your debt is paid. You protected the city long enough. Don't deny yourself living your dream because of the guilt you feel for what you did long ago. And man, that is so sad. Franky's crying through it, pretending it's because his testicles are being squeezed by Robin.
Been grabbed by Robin.
Eggy, Erich, what if Robin agreed to touch you, but only by squeezing your testes? Is it worth it?
You know what? I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, I agree. I'll take it.
It's all good. It's all good with me.
I'm gonna
Do whatever you want, Queen.
Yes.
Robin, she's a piece. She's a hot number, but that is one lane that I have not ever had an inclination. I'm gonna have to pass her up on that one.
It's not that it's good in any way. It's just I need Robin to touch me, Eggy. It has to be worth the pain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, the panel preceding it where she's kind of got like her arms coming around the cheeks. You know, I'll go for a healthy cheek massage. Don't get me wrong. You know, tension relieved, great. But listen, I'm a sensitive man, okay? Emotionally very sensitive and occasionally physically. So I have to just be honest. I have to be true and honest. I think Nico, Robin would appreciate it if I say, don't squeeze my balls.
You want to protect the boys. The boys got to stay safe.
Okay, let's go through what should be everybody's second of mind and just go through the full arc of Usopp in this volume. Resolution over 100 chapters in the making. God,
there's so much fucking going on. I completely forgot about Usopp. Because, like, after he's kind of just, like, accepted on, like, tons of other shit happens, too. Jesus Christ.
Usopp, he has these delusions that the crew is going to beg him to come back.
He is going through several, like, possible,
like, hundreds of scenarios, and they're all, like, them begging him, and he's just, like, trying to be different levels of gracious.
I don't know how he pulls off still being likable, because, like, when he's doing all this shit, and at the same time, the crew is like, anything less than a complete apology, we're gonna fucking kick him back to the curb. And
that is, it's something it's very sad and funny when Luffy and Zoro are pretending they can't hear Usopp because they agreed the very first thing he has to say is an apology. So, and since it's not, they just pretend they can't hear him. It's so good.
Man, the panel where like Luffy's like looking down and pretending like he can't hear him, like, shit, there's so much genuine emotion in this sometimes. And like, it's so funny because Luffy is such a goofball so much of the time, but as soon as he turns serious, it's like it hits you really hard. I do love that Zoro really calls out, like, you cannot fucking pull this shit constantly and expect to still be part of the crew. I love that he kind of breaks down a very like honest and very like cut and dry, like,
he puts his foot down and says, I will leave the crew next if you don't make Usopp treat you with respect as a captain.
Right. God, what a great moment. Like, there's so many great character beats between the crew in these chapters that
it took me like 2 hours to read this volume. It's so incredibly dense. Aggie, what do you think of all this?
Well, I guess I'm probably reading a little too much into it, but you know, the fact that at the very end of chapter 438, where Usopp, he's finally made his apology after bloviating about other things for too long, and he finally says the magic open sesame that gets him reaccepted. Zoro, he's drawn to kind of be accepting, but I think he says he calls Luffy an idiot for even accepting Usopp's apology at all.
I think he's calling him an idiot for like the big crying face he's doing.
Yeah.
Because Zoro, there's a big smile in a panel, and he's the only one who says Usopp's name out loud. So I think this is what he was secretly hoping and praying for. Like he wishes he didn't have to put his foot down, but it's just that serious.
Yeah, I think the quote from Zoro also earlier in the chapter really stuck out to me, where he says, "A crew that does not respect their captain and a captain who does not deserve that respect is destined to fail." So, I mean, it's pretty fair. Like, Luffy's a happy-go-lucky guy, but at a point, when you have a lot of adventure under your belt, you have your full crew, you have your new ship that's top of the line and all this stuff, like, this is the point in time where even after what transpired at Enies Lobby and the crucial role that Usopp played in that success of the crew, to be able to get to this point, you still can't have somebody who has either too much confidence or they're having an insecurity, which I think a lot of times these can be related. Like you have a deep insecurity that causes you to over project confidence or be like over boisterous more than what your actual abilities can back up. And Usopp has been a bit of a fibber, a tall tale teller from the very beginning. So it's something that his character needs to adjust. And I think we're seeing, it's okay. It's down to the wire. He says what he needed to say for the rest.
And what I like about his apology is that it's like he sees that they're leaving without him, and after he has accepted that he's being left behind, he's like, "Oh well, if this is really the last chance, I might as well tell you what I really feel." And it just so happens to be, "I'm sorry for being this stubborn piece of shit," and that's exactly what they were waiting to hear anyway. So Usopp should have stopped lying the whole time and just been honest with how he actually felt, which is what he does.
True. Maybe, I'd like to put my cynicism to the side. I do get a little cynical sometimes. So I would like to think that, yes, the fine line between being left behind and not, really just wore down his facade enough to have that be true honesty, and then it's not just a desperate, like, oh, what have I not said yet situation.
You think it's just another attempt at a lie to get it back on the ship?
I mean, just that he had been, as we mentioned, going through, like, so many scenarios where, he is this superior person in the dynamic. Like I said, I have a cynical streak to me. I feel like if you have all this, and then, I might be a little questioning of, is it really real? It's like when I be, I'm saying, with the ladies, and all of a sudden, they don't got money for an Uber to pay for their, shrimp Alfredo dinners or whatever. And all of a sudden, oh, Eggy, I love you, baby. I love you, Mac Daddy. I don't know.
You didn't love me when I was in your OnlyFans comments, bitch.
But overall, it was regardless of my own personal biases, I did enjoy the intensity, the action, the anxiety, with the very real potential Usopp could be left behind. We needed the shipwright. I thought maybe early on in the Water 7 arc, this is going to be Usopp being trained by Galley Law. Maybe he's going to better himself. That didn't really work out that way. Everything was still going to be all right, but Franky might have filled a gap if they didn't have any other better inclinations that Usopp had changed his mind or anything like that. I think they could have been all right with Franky filling that gap for the time being, but then also we're having this all transpire in the midst of Garp's cannonball assault. So we have all the Straw Hats, Zoro slicing cannonballs, Luffy's doing gum balloon to knock him back and all this stuff. So they're also preoccupied with such an imminent threat, while also this is kind of going off to the side. So I think that the stakes there in the Garp battle and kind of really amp you up a little bit with like the pacing. You're just like, versus like, oh, Sappy, oh, we're going off. No, wait a second. No, wait, guys, no. It's just like, wait.
It's intense and dramatic to the point where even if they do save Usopp, it's like we're still in horrible danger right now. Like there's bigger shit kind of going on immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
As a virgin reader, what was your thought process on what Usopp was going to end up doing? Because early on, Oimo and Kashi offered to take him to Elbaf, and that's kind of been his dream and goal here. Did you ever think, maybe he would not rejoin the crew and go off for his own Usopp adventure?
Well, I didn't think that Franky would join the crew. That was something that I was not expecting. Just, I'll be honest, like I bring this up sometimes, the cultural osmosis. I don't really seem to recall like seeing Franky on a lot of posters or a lot of...
This whole time you didn't know he was a Straw Hat?
Wow.
Who'd you think was going to join from Water 7? Nobody?
Going back to I thought Usopp might, he picked up some of the knowledge. Or maybe Franky would give him, I didn't even know going into this volume, I wasn't anticipating that Franky would have this material and do the shipbuilding himself. I guess in hindsight, regardless of how the ship was built, I think Franky was going to end up playing a role there. But no, I kind of felt like still similar to my initial feelings from Water 7 and getting that first diagnosis from Kaku as far as the condition of the Going Merry. I'm thinking, we're here in the... That's like being at the car dealership and getting stuck there. I don't know what am I going to do? Drive something? I don't know what to do. You're going to get something. You're going to get out of there. You're going to get what you need. So, yeah, I kind of figured even at the beginning of this volume and Franky doing what he did with the other shipwrights to work tirelessly, endlessly to get this vessel in condition. Yeah, I even up to, Franky saying, oh, no, he needs to get approached and talked to about is he going to go? Is he not going to go? Even at that point, I still suspected that he wasn't going to be there. I honestly truly had no idea that he would be going on the ship there.
Are you satisfied to have him as an official Straw Hat member now? Is this a character you want to keep seeing?
Yeah, I'm glad that we did get a good Franky pose with the Square Sisters. That was... I think we needed that after Ennie's Lobby back. Just doesn't seem like too long ago that, Franky was our antagonist, but, even when he was still funky with it, and that was very much appreciated.
Much like all my enemies in real life, once we found out that the government is our real enemy, we all became friends.
That's right. So to answer your question, though, seeing as Usopp was still seemingly a little bit on the fence about really being remorseful, really being subservient to Luffy's leadership, he's still beached, and Franky's on the ship, knows how to work it, knows all the bells and whistles. They're moving out. I thought that...
And Usopp's like saying out loud to himself what we as the audience now know is the exact wrong thing to say. So there's like this sense of doom, like, no, you fucking idiot, no!
So I could have seen a sort of parallel Jaguar D-Sol with, like Koichi and Oimo, Akashi and Oimo having some sort of giant, however, vessel or something to help transport, Usopp after the fact, that he might have missed his chance and he might have, but it was all tied up well, thankfully. And also I feel like at the beginning of the volume, the first chapter also has this good concise handling to kind of catch everything up to speed. Seeing as we just had left Ennie's Lobby and it's immediately like, boom, we're all here, we're back, we're doing our thing, we're getting back to the repairs and stuff. It sort of had that good, concise, bow on it, basically, with Usopp getting, brought back in at the last minute. But I honestly felt like he could have been... I didn't think he was going to be leaving totally by any means, but I thought, certainly something was still on the table that could have delayed him relatively to where the Straw Hats were at.
I think it's a matter of, like, what are the chances that he stays behind on the island and then is able to find them afterwards, kind of thing, where it's like wherever they would go next, they'd probably be gone by the time whenever he'd leave the island. So like logistically, I don't know how he would reunite if this was not the time that he came back to them. So,
maybe he was spying on them when Kokoro said you're going to Fishman Island, so he could find his own way there.
He'd be like, here I am.
I think if it had split up too much, it would have maybe got a little bit convoluted to like try to track both their stories at the same time without like going too far in either direction. I would say if anybody could, it would be Oda, but yeah, I think it was just better this way, because then we can get to the other sort of subplot or whatever you want to call it that is occurring in the midst of this volume.
It's funny to me how much of this volume feels like it's taking place like as they're about to leave. Like, so like Franky is like running back, and
they're doing the underwear chase through the streets and killing lots of pedestrians. Chase.
One of my favorite panels of One Piece is when he does that fist together slightly to the side, and like it's such an epic pose, but then you realize, oh yeah, he's completely naked from the waist down. Like,
and there's like families and small children in the crowd watching,
yes,
and they're
right there
calling him out as a pervert. Yeah. Somebody says he should get the death penalty. Like, Jesus.
It's amazing.
Listen, bro.
So yeah, they're running the Speedo through the fucking.
How do we know it's not like a USB plug or something down there? You know.
Eggy, what do you think of dedicating an entire chapter to Franky running naked through the streets after his Speedo, and killing every member of his own family until they can pass it off to Luffy, because they're so desperate to protect him from the Marines and send him off?
Well, I kind of thought that was part of it was showcasing the struggle that would then culminate in him being like, then being like, oh, well, I guess he just really loves Water 7 so much. I guess, we'll have to just place our faith in him that, his genius will all just work out. He's got everything to work out so far. He's going to get it to work out again. Maybe that's a little contrived, but I still felt like it was going to trend in a direction of that sort, because like I said, I did not have any inclination that Franky would join the crew. Once again, it does make sense, but he's got the Franky family. He's got Saduma and Gamora. I'm glad that they're happy, healthy, recovering.
Yeah, they'll have a full recovery even. I thought that was a nice detail.
For Kokoro, was it Yamazaki? I forget what the frog's name is. Yakozuna
or something. Yokozuna.
Honorable mention for our frog friend. I really enjoyed the panel where like his face is like breaking through the door like to meet Kokoro, like after they all come back and they're all in better shape. But
speaking of Kokoro and Chimney, the SBS explained that Chimney is 1/4 mermaid, and that's why she's such a strong swimmer and was able to save Luffy from the whirlpool.
Yeah, being 1/4 mermaid just buys you good swimming ability. That's funny to me.
I did not need that explanation for how she saved Luffy, but the fact that it actually makes factual sense and he gave it anyway,
But
in the
Oda will
SBS of all
correct them,
places, that's a good detail for an author to even think about.
That's right.
I want to say I read all of the comments sections within the volumes here, and why are the One Piece fans such fucking perverts? Why is somebody asking whether Nico Robin's floor ability like works with her areola or her breasts?
Yeah, she can make titties prop up anywhere.
The fuck is wrong with people?
In the same volume where Oda has her grabbing a dude by the balls.
Yeah.
I love the reactions from Luffy and Chopper, like holding their own nuts and, and feeling his pain.
Sympathy, yeah.
Like, poor Chopper, he's like a fucking little reindeer. Like, what are his nuts? Has he been kicked in the nuts before? Like, Jesus Christ.
Is Chopper worried he's gonna have to, like, operate on Frankie's nuts?
Have to have some cyborg testicles after this one. And I also like that Robin said, I only squeezed him one time. He's been faking it because he's crying.
The other time he's been faking.
Like the horrible pain of having to leave.
Yeah.
Okay, any other thoughts on Franky or Usopp before I move on to homeboys Koby and Helmeppo?
Let's move on.
Eggy, could you believe your eyes when homeboy Koby said his name?
I couldn't, and although that I prefer Koby and I would rather just have his existence be my mental priority, Helmeppo is looking crazy. Like, whoa.
He's so different looking. What the fuck?
He got out of that, talking about Neppo, like, oh, Luffy's the greatest family of all time. Helmeppo, he's got Captain Morgan there, building these giant statues, living the life of luxury to where he can have this poofy, his head looks like a penis. He's got some kind of like inflated poodle afro hair. He's looking freaky. Now, after a real man's life on the high seas, serving under a real, true and honest father figure that Luffy didn't have, but they had the command of Garp lording over them, his great power that where, things like him falling asleep in the middle of punching Luffy, whatever, he made it work. He's got great power. Shaped that boy up. All right, that boy, he was like Bobby Hill. He wouldn't write. But Garp got him where he needed to be, basically made him Chad, but unfortunately Zoro doesn't even remember him. But hey,
yeah, Luffy and Zoro have great disrespect for Helmeppo, don't know his name or even remember him, even after he held Zoro prisoner and was going to kill him. And I really appreciate that Oda recognizes this is not a character anybody likes, and his only purpose should be to be disrespected and shit on, because it is very funny.
Yeah, it is quite funny. It's so great because I would not have remembered Helmeppo, honestly, if I had not watched the One Piece live action recently. So, yeah, but I'm also glad that they provided us some context for that when he shows.
Yeah, is that almost meta of Oda admitting you probably don't remember this character unless you're a hardcore
fan? Yeah, and it's only
redoes it
only
and over
what
again.
350 chapters ago versus. I'm sure we'll have some things that take 1,000 chapters.
Does this go to show that it only takes really 2 months of diet and exercise to completely reshape somebody's head structure? Like, Kobe's facial bone structure seems to be entirely different.
Well, I think
There's
there could be
hope
yeah. I think you might have been young enough too. What is it? I want to say that your skull. I mean, like if you lose your teeth or whatever, your skull would like turn to mush. So your skull always can be changing, but I feel like hormonally speaking, you like reach or you could reach the end of your bone development for puberty like in your early 20s. Because like for me, for instance, I grew 1 inch from weightlifting. I was like 19 or something like that, and deadlifting really had an effect on my posture in a positive way that caused me to actually gain an inch.
So there's a scientific basis for him being taller as well.
Yes, but it could also just be him getting older too. I don't know if we had a canon age for him. I also want to just mention that before we have the formal introduction of Koby and Helmeppo, it's preceded by some combat with the two of them. And we see Koby with using the shave technique. That's one of the CP9
The
six powers.
Yep.
So that's really like, this is where Luffy was just like, this is who he was just doing combat with. That's like the strongest enemies he's ever faced. I'm not saying all CP9 was, but it's in their playbook. So if we have Koby, the man who got mogged off of the great Alvida vessel, once upon a time is now commanding this kind of power. I mean, once again, Garp is making Helmeppo into Chad Meppo. He's turning Koby into more like Kilby because he's got the tools to beat up some fools. And
Koby says his dream is to become a Marine Admiral. And this is the most like anime shonen shit ever.
It's so full.
It's like, oh, I love having a rival. Yeah, train up and fight me one day. I love that kind of attitude between rivals on opposite ends of some sort of spectrum. But if Koby was Luffy's original friend in Chapter 2, like we meet him and hang out with him before we get Zoro, is this end of series You know, is Oda planning this from day one? Like Luffy versus Koby in the final chapters of One Piece. Like this is Koby going to be fighting for the Marines even at the end? Like, no, Luffy, the One Piece will be for the Marines.
I don't know. It's the thing where it's like, will Koby be so loyal to the Marines that he's like willing to fight Luffy just for that reason? Or is it more of just a like friendly rivalry where they're both trying to see how powerful they like I don't know that Koby can match up to what Luffy is capable of.
His growth in the last 2 months is absolutely insane. It took Luffy 10 years of training to get this strong. Koby has low-key caught up, is dodging Luffy's attacks with Shave. After 2 months of training, he was a chore boy in Alvida's ship. Koby has infinite potential. He's being trained by the greatest legendary marine hero of all time, Garp. I think Luffy's going to have a real tough fight.
I'm going to echo that sentiment because I want to say it's, I'm always making my video game analogies. When you're playing like Final Fantasy, you know, you have your different kingdoms or whatever, your different boss fights. That boss in most RPGs, some of them have dynamic things, but usually, okay, your boss, that's a level 50 boss, that's a level 60 boss, 70, 80, whatever. And you are going out and fighting slime over and over again or whatever, and now you can come to overpower. But that's sort of like a static value, a static power level assigned to most people that you're going to do combat with. And I think we're going into Fishman Island, we're going into the New World. None of these pirates are probably going out of their way to attempt to become significantly more powerful than they already are, because they've already previously ascended to a certain position. They've already previously reached a certain power level, and it would seem almost redundant for them to try to outdo themselves if they're already like the king of their castle. They're already the big fish in their pond. I think that Koby really presents the perfect sort of long-term rival and threat to Luffy's goals, because we have both of them appearing right off the bat in the series. So both of them are starting at a point to where they both are going to have the greatest potential growth because they are starting from day one. We're introduced to them immediately. So they both have the greatest potential growth that they can reach out of any character in the series for that reason, in my opinion. And then we have these parallels where he's going for the Marines. He's training under Garp, who's got the familial, instinctual, patriarchal, monkey know-how. You know, that's like he's able to determine maybe what Luffy's capable of, or where his strengths should be, how they should develop. Maybe, does he know about gears and things like that? I don't know about that so much. I don't think we have any reason to believe that. But with that being the case, that he's got that familial know-how that nobody else could possess, and he's also training this character who is going to be antithetical to Luffy's goals. They both have the maximum possible potential. I think every single data point that we could think of is going to indicate, at least I would be comfortable predicting that Koby should be the most capable final antagonist of Luffy's goals and where he's going to be in the future.
I also buy stock in Koby is end of series a threat. Erich, where are you? You buying stock or are you selling?
I'm not. I'm selling.
Selling?
Honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. Koby gives us a lot of important information. Earlier, Erich mentioned Dr. Vegapunk, and we learn Vegapunk just last year developed the technology that allows you to feed a devil fruit to an inanimate object.
To an inanimate object.
Which means Lasso, the dog gun, is only 1 year old, because it's a gun that ate a dog fruit. They're making a literal baby into a weapon, Eggy. It's disgusting. How did Miss Merry Christmas get this technology if it came out 1 year ago? Is it because Crocodile was a warlord and would have access to government secrets? If Vegapunk is working for the government?
Whatever the reason, Oda will explain it. It might just come like decade after.
Well, let's see. I mean, was Miss Merry Christmas on Whiskey Peak, or was she in Alabasta?
I think
Or
we
was that
only
the
met her
first
in
time?
Alabasta.
Okay. So I think for that reason, I think that there's a possible, couldn't really rule it out, that maybe, there was a meeting with Crocodile and Vegapunk. I don't know, I don't know this Vegapunk. I don't know if maybe somebody who doesn't travel, so I can't really say for sure yet, but that would be my thought, because if it was on Whiskey Peak, it wouldn't really make any sense for somebody with this great technology to like stop by the trap that is for pirates with the broke works, grunts. But I think if she might have been in Alabasta to begin with, or at least soon enough to have been in the midst of this possible meeting between Vegapunk and Crocodile. So that would be my best guess, I think.
Koby also tells us that the Navy coats their ships with sea prism stone so they can cross over the calm belt and go freely between the blues and the Grand Line. Luffy says that's cheating, that's not fair. You have to go over reverse mountain like the rest of us. So the Navy has a huge advantage over the pirates just in navigating the world.
Reminds me of GTA roleplay back in the day. The cops, they can just walk into the gun stash, get all the best guns instantly, load up. When you're CJ from San Andreas, you got to go sell crack for like $5 an hour until you could buy your first crappy pistol with 2 bullets.
Are you guys ready to move on to Shanks and Whitebeard?
Yep.
Yes.
Well, Aggie, let's hear your virgin thoughts. We got men foaming at the mouth when Shanks approaches.
Well, I think it was a good, lead in for this occurrence to have Garp kind of show up first and have, Shanks sort of brought back up in that conversation. And, we get to meet these 1st and 3rd Division commanders for the first time, as far as I can recall. And I think
Jozu and Marco. Which you can play as both of them in Burning Blood.
What? Okay,
and
so
I love
Marco
playing as
is the 1st
Jozu.
Division.
He's a very cheap character to play as because he's just bullshit.
I like his weird looking face and facial hair. He looks like a guy that could take some damage. So
yes,
the other
he
guy
can.
kind of looks like Marco. Looks like if he's got my head shape. So like if I wasn't fat and I had like turnip hair, I think maybe I
Would
could
you describe his head
one
like
day.
a pineapple?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I think it's missing a little bit of the. It's kind of a little bit messy up here, but I don't know if there's any other cylindrical objects like that are quite as pineappular.
So you're gonna cosplay as Marco at the next anime convention.
If I can get,
You might be better as Diamond Jozu.
If I could, let's say, maybe something shows up in the mail that helps me, get a little slimmer. You know what? Maybe it's a possibility. We kind of have the same. Lower thirds as well. I think skull shape very similar, and he's got the sagging eyelids like I do.
I was gonna say Ozempic, but if you have an Adderall prescription, Aggie, hook him up. I think that helps men lose weight. Wink, wink.
Works for some of us, at least. Anyway, I have the. It has in the past. So Marco's the 1st Division commander. Josu's the 3rd Division commander. Shanks. No, it's there's Ace is the 2nd
That's
commander,
right.
2nd Division, and then he shows
He
up.
replaced
for
the great
team.
man, but we'll get to
Yes.
that.
So he shows up. The Marco and Josu, they tell people, hey, you know what? Probably just want to take a step back because the absolute aura. Okay, that's what the Zoomers say. So this is we're translating it to Zoomerese. It's called hockey, but for you Zoomers out there, basically Shanks is hella aura farming for real, and his Riz is so skibidi that all the grunts are just like, bruh, and then they fall over, like, bruh.
They faint and start foaming like they have rabies.
Yeah, it's really something unlike anything we've ever seen. I mean, we had the dissection of the power levels with CP9 to kind of get there's a thing there. Before that, we were kind of basing things off of bounty levels to kind of get an idea for people's power. But this sort of raw, intense energy, which it seems like is able to be controlled, because Whitebeard even says you're bearing your haki without constraint. So is this something you can kind of like turn up, like a gas cage or something? Just like you could just be like fuming or chill.
Now we know Shanks doesn't have a devil fruit because he was swimming to save Luffy. So is haki some special power that just Shanks can have on his own without a devil fruit power?
I want to make a Dragon Ball comparison, because I feel like one of the Dragon Ball games that I played, there's something that is like, and maybe there's other games too, but you have, you could call like a devil fruit like maybe a magic resource, versus maybe haki is more like a physical resource. I don't know if this really translates well to One Piece, but it's something like two different power reserves, two different like stats, gauges, whatever. I feel like that's the way that I would read it, is that he's got like a different kind of resource. Like maybe with Luffy and his gear, we know that plays into what his devil fruit has. He's able to survive these gears because of that. But maybe Shanks's just raw combat ability gives him sort of an elevated level of like chi, basically, I guess. I'm not sure if I really have the right words to describe it. I could really like put it together mentally, like I can kind of visualize what I mean, but I'm not sure if I have the right terminology here to try and connect my video game mind to the One Piece universe. But hopefully people can understand what I'm saying. He's got like a raw physical resource that plays into this energy expenditure.
I think aura is a fair word to use for it. I think you nailed it. And my man, Shoji is like angrily digging at my carpet, so I'll leave you two for a moment.
All right. Well, Erich, I think that I was very happy. Shanks brings, I really believed, honestly, that he was bringing Whitebeard some kind of medicine, this medicinal water, which turns out to be just
wine. Yeah, right.
Now, sure.
Honestly, I would drink that wine. That seems like it's pretty good wine.
Yeah. Wouldn't you agree,
Mr. Jimmy,
that wine
the alcoholic
is
quality
medicine?
of the wine that Shanks brings to Whitebeard?
What about it?
Whether it's quality, whether it's any good.
Well, I thought it was interesting that Shanks says, this is from my hometown in the West Blue. And as far as I know, he was a kid on Gold Roger's ship, so I guess Roger found him in some West Blue village, and I'd like to see that flashback one day. See what Shanks is all about.
And speaking of which, I'm glad that two homeboys could, bond and reminisce over a drink. You know what? That's my pirating style. But we get the flashback where Whitebeard is recalling Buggy, and then Shanks also does, and they're like basically like, whatever, it's who knows, maybe he's alive, maybe he's dead, whatever. I think he's a pirate out there somewhere. Buggy bros, Yeah,
I thought this was bizarre, and I do want to dive deep into this. I think almost every single thing Shanks and Whitebeard say to each other has so much deep meaning behind it that won't be understood for perhaps 1,000 chapters. Of all the people on Gold Roger's crew, the one that comes to mind immediately for Whitebeard is Buggy the Clown. He says, who's that red-nosed one? What's he up to? I want to know if your other little apprentice cabin boy is still alive and doing well. And I have a theory that perhaps Whitebeard knew a pirate back in the day who maybe also had some sort of red nose. And maybe he knows that Buggy might be a relative of his of some kind. Because I just think it's very strange, of all people, that Whitebeard is still thinking about Buggy, 30, 40 years later?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
There's got to be a deep lore reason. Another thing, Eggy, answer me this. Whitebeard says, "When I see your face, it makes my scars ache. The scars I got from him." Shanks' face is reminding Whitebeard of somebody who gave him a scar. Who is it?
Well, doesn't he say that it's Blackbeard, I believe?
Blackbeard gave Shanks his scars. Whitebeard is saying, "Shanks, your face reminds me of who gave me my scars." I think the implication is it's probably just Gold Roger, because they later say that they fought a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be, I would agree with that, yeah, because, I mean, who else do we know? Whitebeard seems quite imposing, and even he mentions that it's been like 22 years since he had interacted with Buggy and Shanks when they were on Gold Roger's crew. But then later in chapter 434, he says, "You're 100 years too young to tell me what to do." So then that could be a exaggeration perhaps, but I mean, maybe he's got he might be just a different breed. I'm talking about that he has giant DNA, not even that necessarily, but obviously he has an incredible physical stature compared to really everybody else. He's on, continuous nursing care and a whole lot of IVs and things. So is he triple digit age?
We do have Kureha in this very volume saying, "Hey, do you want to know the secret of my youth?" And she's 139, I think. Does he have the same secret? Is it to have all these sexy nurses around you at all times?
That's probably very true. I think that would help. And I think he's got the power and the respect and the connections to receive such a blessing or enhancement, if there's anything out there like that he could get his hands on. And I think if we consider that, it could just, like I said, it could just be me reading into one comment too much. But if we're considering this to be a possibility, then I think it also opens up like a whole previous generation, maybe, where like Gold Roger seems to be the most likely to have wounded him, but there could be maybe even something else that we wouldn't even be aware of. It might have been preceding Shanks' whole existence.
Any thoughts on that, Erich?
Not much. I'm considering.
What do you think of this? Ace is here to say, "Hey, I know you guys have a code of conduct here, and if you kill one of Whitebeard's sons, we're gonna hunt you down and kill you." Even though, if I recall, Ace sort of was on this mission of his own accord, but now Whitebeard seems to be defending it. That's fine. And Shanks is saying, "Hey, call off Ace. Don't start a fight with Blackbeard. He gave me these scars, and it's not because I was being careless." So he's under the impression Blackbeard is very dangerous. And how long ago did Shanks have these scars when he was with Luffy in chapter 1?
I want to say so.
So this was before he even had his devil fruit that I think we find out what it is at the very end of the volume, but a devil fruitless Blackbeard scarred Shanks. Now that's scary. What the hell is this guy capable of? He's on level with the fucking Yonko already?
Fuck.
Well, I just want to say, I was wrong about Blackbeard coming back in on any cover stories, but I did feel like we were due for more Blackbeard, so I don't know if I want to be happy yet because, he's concerning. Maybe I didn't want to see him anymore, but I kind of still appreciated that, he wasn't just cast off forever, and we are getting back into this because, Ace looking for Blackbeard goes all the way back to Drum Island, so we've really had this as a consistent thing for quite a while, and I think it was about time that we maybe did get to touching on it, so I appreciate that much.
Yeah, we'll get to that in 1 second, but the final moment with Shanks and Whitebeard, they have a weapons clash, and it splits the fucking heavens themselves. I don't know if that's also aura or like a power blast from the swords hitting or what, but they're splitting the skies, Eggy.
and Shanks with his one arm style, and Whitebeard's utilizing both. So obviously, he's old and sick and everything like that, but it's still Whitebeard. They're still both bringing enough power to each of their respective swings to cause that sort of. I'm going to read it as like a blast wave of energy of some kind that is reaching up into the sky. So that's quite intimidating for sure. Just generally speaking, it's like, oh fuck, it's just a friendly clash of swords is enough to, change the entire sky. That's.
I hope there's no Sky Island up there because they're all probably dead.
The other half of Jaya falls back down. It's like a triplets now.
Speaking of intimidating, Blackbeard and the crew realize, Straw Hat Luffy, they just did Ennie's lobby. They're probably back on Water 7. That's just a hop, skip, and a jump from here. We were meaning to kill him before Skypiea. Let's just go do it now. But after hundreds of chapters of stalking this crew, Ace shows up just in the nick of time to save his little brother's life. Because they said this is 3 days ago, so Luffy is still literally passed out from exhaustion. They would have been dead if Blackbeard rolled up. And maybe I guess if it's 3 days ago, Luffy already escaped, so we know that, but still. Ace interrupts, and we know about this crew. Just the 5 of them completely destroyed Drum Kingdom and sent Wapple and his army on the run. And now Ace is doing a 1v5. Eggy, he's doing okay so far, but does Ace have what it takes to win against the entire Blackbeard crew?
Well, I feel like, we see him being the 2nd division leader. I would imagine as far as the divisions go, probably, and also the fact that was it Thatch, the 4th division leader, is the one who Blackbeard killed. So I would like to make an assumption that the division you're leading corresponds to power in some sort of way, like first is best, second is next, and so on. We didn't really get to see Marco and Jozu exhibit any power in their appearance here in this volume, but just what I see of Ace, and that it's directly before we get to see Blackbeard's Devil Fruit power, which is probably absolutely horrific. But
Yeah.
What he's bringing to the table here was really impressive to me personally.
Yeah, he's deflecting all of the Blackbeard pirates, basically showing off their best capabilities. He's throwing a whole house at him, and he just blasts it with fire, which, if you can turn into fire and blast fire, yeah, I guess it should be pretty easy to fight anybody.
Like, the whole flame commandment into fire pillar is like,
hell
holy
yeah.
shit.
Can't wait to do that against me when I'm playing as Usopp.
Like, I feel like I've seen similar attacks in different media in my lifetime, and it's just like, they ain't nothing to fuck with.
Fire powers, if you don't do them right, don't do them at all. And Ace is probably one of the best versions.
Homeboy Jesus throwing wooden buildings at him. It's like, oh, that's very much the wrong attack to do anything to Ace.
Is that because Jesus was a carpenter, so Jesus Burgess throws a wooden house?
Well, maybe it has to do with what was it, the Jew wall? Was that what the wall in,
that's right, in Mocktown. Yeah. He throws the Jew wall at him and he blasts it with the Holocaust. That's insane.
He just likes walls, he's fond of, I guess I would still tie into carpentry, but.
And then Blackbeard, of course, reveals, hey, he killed Thatch because his whole life, his goal was to find one specific devil fruit, and he thought if I joined Whitebeard's crew, it's my best chance to find it. Thatch had it in his hands. He even describes Thatch as a friend, but that doesn't matter when you're a pirate and you have a goal. And what is this power, Aggie? What do we see?
Well, it's Blackbeard compares this quote-unquote darkness to Ace's firepower. I don't know if I really I guess my best guess, so, little frog in my throat, little Blackbeard in my throat, I think his darkness is consuming me. I'm feeling like I want to say pestilence, but I know we already had crocodile with the sand fruit, which kind of had, it wasn't quite pestilence, but I mean, it's, you're dehydrating people into like husks. But like, otherwise, what is darkness? I mean, I guess you could blind people or like block out the sun or something. And I think if you have the physical capabilities, this is kind of like Bluno coded, because Bluno, like, okay, yeah, he's got the physical strength, and his door fruit allows him to manipulate his movement, his location, and things like that to such a degree where that was very advantageous, and even not even including that he could turn your face into a door and make it go crazy. But I think if this isn't something like that, where this darkness itself is like an energy attack, I feel like that should be the case, because I think that's what Blackbeard, like, his power level should be deserving of something like that. I think that if it was just like straight up absence of light power, I don't think that that's to me, just first impressions, it's not really as good, I think, as what he could get. So I want to say it's something like a dark energy blast or something like that, but I think also, yeah, it could be if it's a blinding sort of power. I think that he's got the physical capability to back that up and utilize that as well. But my first inclination was dark energy, maybe a pestilence type of deal, or just an energy blast. One of those.
What I like about this volume is that Shanks is really hyping up Blackbeard beyond belief. Like, oh, Shanks is a Yonko. That's one of the 4 best in the world. And then Shanks is like, I'm scared of Blackbeard. He scarred me long ago. Like, don't fuck with him. Please, I'm begging you, Yonko to Yonko. Do not fuck with him. Something bad will happen. And then Ace shows up, and he sets Blackbeard on fire, and Blackbeard is like a total bitch. He's like, ow, hot, ow, ow.
Yeah.
He's like just getting completely obliterated and humiliated. Complete opposite of the badass we were just promised. It's like almost jarring. But then, hey, the volume ends with Blackbeard going serious sicko mode and sort of flowing with this dark energy Eggy's talking about. So
I could say I think this might just be because it's not apparent in the final couple of panels here, but like really the absolute first panel we have of Blackbeard activating his devil power almost kind of looks like he's almost like melding into a darkness, like almost like some kind of shadow type of deal. So I think that's a possibility also, but
like a shadow
I
fruit.
think it might just be stylistic, because although the smudging of the ink kind of gives an impression that it might be like consuming his body fully, I just don't know if we really get enough of that in the final couple of appearances of Blackbeard in the volume to say for sure. But that's another, I think that'd be a good power to have, like, yeah, be able to blend into shadow and stuff. That'd be pretty cool.
Do you like that this pirate of all pirates, Blackbeard, he's being built up as a big rival to Luffy, perhaps, and this big threat? Do you like that he's kind of goofy and getting clowned on and injured in the fight and like screaming in pain?
I do think that, in my opinion, it's a good thing. It's a good character that he has, because like even Crocodile, he was a good flip-flopper. He was good with being two-faced, being able to present himself in 2 different ways, like with his public-facing intentions and then his true intentions. I don't know if we really had necessarily like maybe Kuro, somebody who's just like so prim and proper about like what they have going on, or like a real megalomaniac. I guess maybe Buggy was a little bit like that. Sort of this just rough around the edges, missing some teeth, takes a couple punches and, kind of cracks his neck and said, pretty good show. Haha, now let's see what's really going on. I feel like that's the kind of pirate energy that I like to see. Not somebody who's like too self-indulgent. I mean, you could make that argument perhaps for Blackbeard. He's willing to kill his crewmates to get what he wants and everything like that. But there's just something raw and sort of a little bit abrasive about his leadership style that I think is very fitting.
And I think it makes him a good parallel to Luffy. Like, we've seen Luffy react in ways like this when he gets burned or injured in a fight. So it shows that, yeah, he's not too stoic to pretend like he's not in pain. If something's happening, he's gonna, he's just going with it. So another reason why I like that Blackbeard and Luffy parallel, they're kind of two sides of the same coin in a way, but one is a bit of an evil bastard. How do you think this fight's gonna go if we get to continue it in the next volume, Aggie? Is Ace going to win, or what are they gonna do? Is somebody dying here?
Well, I could see this darkness, because, fire is... It's not holy power, but it's still something that is, like, I would say... In this circumstance, I feel like it would be combative against darkness, like, the illumination, hashtag Illuminati, that his firepower brings, and then maybe Blackbeard, if he's got this darkness energy, it's something that seeks to sort of smother and extinguish the flame.
Might be a good counter.
Yeah, it's not maybe the standard, Pokemon style fire, water, dark, light sort of, elemental thing that we would typically consider in this sort of situation. But I feel like, this light versus dark in their own particular ways.
It's literally a battle of light versus dark. Oda, you fucking madman.
Right.
Good thinking, Aggie.
So I could definitely see it being a... I don't know if it would be definitive. I mean, it should be. And I think Ace is outnumbered. So if anything, maybe I could see maybe he's overwhelmed. And this is Blackbeard here. He's a big... he's powerful. So,
but if you can turn into flame at will, how do you get captured? Like, how these people can't even touch him. Surely Ace at least can retreat if he can't win. Hopefully. Yeah,
hopefully there's no sea prism stones floating around.
True. Good point. Why doesn't the sniper just have him in his gun? Like, Ace would be dead immediately. He's shot right through him.
Yeah, I mean, and the sniper's there. He's
not Lafitte. What's his name?
Got blown up, but
what's the sniper's name? Erich. Do you know? One Piece trivia.
Sogeking?
No, on Blackbeard's crew.
Oh, no idea.
Jesus Burgess, Doc Q. Damn, I'm a fake fan.
I just remember I got him confused with like chess, even though when I went and looked back that their character designs were not similar, but I'm just gonna be stuck on that anyway.
Van Auger, that's right.
Ted Togger was his name?
Van Auger. I think it's like German or some crazy shit.
Oh yeah, he's probably in Florian Triangle.
When we finally do our One Piece parody, every character in the Florian Triangle will have an Austrian accent. Who do you want to voice when we do One Piece parody or One Piece abridged? Erich.
A character that hasn't appeared yet.
Oh, who?
But is on your shirt.
Oh, perfect. I think he. I'm not making this up. The character on my shirt is canonically, according to Oda, Austrian. I'm not kidding.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm not kidding. Dead fucking serious. It goes deeper than you think, people. It's almost unbelievable.
Oh my god, he did. What the fuck?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It's almost unreal.
Wow.
So
Chopper's Canadian?
Yes.
Got some medicine for you, eh? And he was in the mountains and all that. That's kind of like Canada, right?
I knew about Luffy being Brazilian, and that's funny.
Zoro's Japanese, and Japan and Brazil are on exact
Sanji's
opposite
French.
Points of the globe. I thought that was a cool detail.
Franky being American makes sense to me.
Don't read anymore. You might spoil some people on the crew. Be quiet.
Yeah, I don't know. No,
Nami's from Sweden. Okay, I got these memorized.
Yep.
Usopp is just Africa. That's fucking retarded.
Continent of Africa.
You're saying, Iggy?
I knew Luffy was Brazilian because I saw that GIF that's in all the brain rot. I think I brought that up before, where he's like got his shirt up and he's like.
Okay. Let's talk about Garp, because we should have got into this maybe 100 minutes ago. The big reveal that the big famous Navy legend Vice Admiral is Luffy's grandpa. Not a big reveal to us because for some reason the One Piece live action spoiled this in, I think, episode 4. People said, oh, Mumkey, the reason why you didn't watch episode 8 of the live action is because you didn't want Eggy to see the Garp reveal. No, motherfuckers, it happens in Syrup Village. The scene with Garp throwing the cannonballs in this volume happens in episode 4 of the live action.
Damn.
Motherfuckers.
Good lord.
So I don't know why we wouldn't have watched episode 8 if they spoiled this shit that early anyway. How do we feel about this? That something in chapter 430, thereabouts, is spoiled in episode 4?
Pretty wild. It's honestly, you're liable to be spoiled for basically any One Piece thing from any other One Piece thing, because doesn't like the movies have oftentimes spoiled something that comes afterwards, even though it's like
Probably
not technically canon in some
I think that One
some
Piece
cases.
movie Red gave us a spoiler about Shanks that we didn't know from the manga yet.
Yeah,
But then we learned it like a few months later, so it's whatever. He was just prepping us, making sure that we would accept it, maybe.
That's
saying
right.
that we were paying attention.
Well, so speaking of the initial Garp encounter here, I know I was talking about some dialogue from the end of the volume where, there's a character mentioned named Dadan, who I kind of suppose maybe this is like a mother figure. But also, going back and looking again here, Garp, after he's mentioning all the things he did to strengthen Luffy, throwing him into the jungle and down a ravine and flying him to the sun with a balloon, he said, I entrusted you and Ace to a friend of mine for training. So maybe this Dadan, maybe this is not the mother I thought. Maybe this is, it would make sense if Luffy's mother would have would have Luffy and Ace because that's their mother. So she should be having both of them. But, maybe this is this Dadan could be some sort of training person that I
think that's a good
remembering.
theory, Eggy.
I took note of that balloon thing just because it's like Luffy has a similar origin story to like Balloon Boy from the fucking news from like years ago.
Are there any other major things we should cover that we've been doing before I run through my notes, just kind of rapid fire?
Mm-hmm. Luffy says that he can eat in his sleep, which is like
we see him do it
because he's already like a fucking crazy, eats all the time. So
yeah, lots of narcolepsy jokes in here. Like when Garp's about to punch Luffy, they both fall asleep at the same time. That's hysterical. And it harkens back to when Ace fell asleep eating in Alabasta, so I guess narcolepsy does run in the family.
But I think it's interesting when Garp is talking about Shanks and he talks about the 4 emperors. He's got these silhouettes we got Whitebeard, Shanks, and then this. I don't even know what to make of. This is like 2 heads stacked on top of each other. I think I'm just looking at it wrong, but at least like the top head, it looks like somewhere between. Was it Wanzi? Was the one that we just had the Mad Hatter guy on the Puffing Tom? Is that right?
Yeah.
Wanzi, because it kind of looks like
the guy with the ramen noodles in the kitchen was Wanzi, I think, and then Nero was the guy on top.
Yep. So I something about like just the head shape and like this weird like hairstyle, maybe even the nose and I don't know, something about it just gave me some Wanzi energy. But he's also kind of got like the penguin from Batman with like his giant hook nose and kind of like his eyes are kind of like scrunched in a little bit.
I'll say this in terms of the silhouette here. You might recall when we learned about the 7 warlords as we were floating away from the Baratier, there was the silhouette of 7 very standard, skinny, all holding swords kind of guys, and it turns out that silhouette, like those don't match the actual warlords at all. And it turns out maybe Oda did not have all 4 Yonko's designs ready yet, because these bottom 2 silhouettes, I would say, don't match the designs of these characters at all. Anyway, so it's really a joke in the One Piece community, like that one panel of, I don't think those people look like that. And I guess you'll find out, I'm not even going to say when.
Well, I guess if these are stacked on top of each other, this looks like some kind of dual-faced, like vertical egg creature with Jewish noses. So very strange, but yeah, I guess
Nothing
I'll
to
take
worry
your word
about.
for it on that. There may not be to scale.
Okay, should we get some rapid fire things that didn't come up in the discussion yet? Hey, the Franky family are all getting hired at Galley Law. No more bounty hunter dismantlers. Now they can build ships for pirates. How wonderful.
Nice.
I also like the tragic backstories that we got for the Franky family members and how they all got united under his leadership. That
Yeah,
was
because he
very
just
beautiful.
beat them up and then said, I'm your leader now. And he really saved all this gutter trash. The Square sisters didn't even have big afros yet. He had to teach them about style and fashion. Iceberg, his dream is to make Water 7, the entire island, into a ship, basically, by making it float. Which I guess the Iceberg name is now very fitting.
Hey, Florida better take notes because he's doing it because Water 7 is sinking from the relatively increasing Aqua Laguna strength. Florida is sinking because the hurricanes are getting stronger. That might be from Bill Gates' weather machine, but either way, who's to say? Maybe Whitebeard controls the weather too. We'll figure it out one day, but...
The Thousand Sunny is built of wood from now this book calls it the Jewel Tree Atom. I know it as the Treasure Tree Atom. It doesn't really matter. But I guess it's like this indestructible wood that you can only buy on the black market. And it's the same wood that the Oro Jackson Gold Roger ship was made out of. So more Luffy and Roger parallels here.
Similarities.
Kind of like, back in the day, they made pianos and ashtrays out of the finest ivory. We all love it. I tried to buy ivory from an FBI agent, and I had to cut contact, put some VPNs and PGP keys flying around to, obfuscate. But I'm sure that there's, lots of great materials we can't get our hands on anymore. I say capitalism should be solving these problems, but enough of my tangent.
Garp bursts through the wall and then makes his men repair the wall just because he wanted a cool intro. And everybody's shocked when he punches Luffy and it hurts him. Like, what? You're made of rubber. Blunt force attacks should never hurt you. And Garp explains a fist of love cannot be blocked. Eggy, does this explain Nami being able to injure Zoro and Luffy and give them horrible bruises this whole time?
I would say that it does make sense. I feel like Luffy's been hit before, though. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I feel like if he wasn't prepared, that maybe, but maybe I'm just misremembering that he's been struck successfully by blunt objects and been harmed before. But it would make sense, I think. Yeah.
I guess even a grown man, if his grandmother is hitting him, it's gonna hurt him no matter what, no matter how frail she is, because it's a fist of love. It just hits different, literally.
Yeah, fist of love always. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. So Luffy can be injured by a fist. He says, "I don't know how many times Grandpa almost killed me when I was small." Love that line.
Broke down this wall to start beating you. I'm not some kind of abuser. I only tied you to a balloon and flew you into the sun to make you strong. That's not abusive. And I say, Garp, you're damn right. These, what's all the problem with all these kids nowadays? They're not getting tied to enough balloons. I think it's only happened once in my lifetime that I saw it on the news. So we're severely failing our children out here. That's why they're all free.
Luffy's gonna go to therapy one day and realize all of the things Garp did to him were actually
I think
abusive.
he knows. I think he's very much aware and he's terrified of it. Sanji cooks up some delicious food and suddenly Sniper King shows up to eat. We haven't seen him for a little bit. Anything for the food? They have a big party with everybody to celebrate the end of an epic saga, as One Piece likes to do. You just read some true Kino when it ends with an epic party in One Piece.
That's right.
And I like that this entire volume is like a reward for the reader. Like, hey, we just went through this huge epic over 100 chapter saga of Water 7 and Enies Lobby. Here's just a lore dump, insane lore dump and character reveals. It's like he's giving us dessert after feeding us the most delicious meal of all time, like a gift after getting a bunch of Christmas presents. He's so generous to his fans.
Thank you.
To me, it kind of felt like also a stabilizing situation. Like we're getting so much that it's almost could be like a lot for people to take in.
It might take them 2 hours on a podcast to even dissect it all.
But when we're looking at, just the way I feel about it, we just burned down the world government flag. We just escaped a bunch of Navy warships through very coincidental and very particular and definitely not at all Mickey style, okay, means.
No Mickey in this volume, none.
So I'm coming out of Annie's lobby into this volume just kind of like, oh shit. And then when I come in, we have the comfortable, okay, we're back at Water 7, we're doing the repairs, Then Garp comes in, and it's there's conflict, but it's also love. And then we have, the big party, and then we kind of also get to go step off to the side for Shanks and Whitebeard. We get to step off to the side for, I guess, technically Ace and Blackbeard are after after Garp has to come back around and start attacking. But at least for like the first 2/3 or so of this volume, it's just like that. It just kind of calms the nerves a little bit. That's just how I felt personally.
And there is that question you were asking of, well, how do they even get away from, like, isn't the government going to be after them hardcore now? And the answer is that, well, yeah, but they sent Garp, and Garp just says, nah, I don't feel like it, it's my grandson. And it's not until Fleet Admiral Sengoku tells him days later, no, you have to go back and do this, that he actually takes it somewhat seriously, even though it's just him throwing cannonballs. And Aokiji is literally on the deck taking a nap when he could just freeze the ocean and trap them. But Kude Purse could probably break out of that anyway, so I think they were guaranteed to escape. More notes. We haven't really gone through every character reading the newspaper and learning about their old friend and seeing their bounty. Did anything stick out to you guys? I like all the chefs at the Baratier laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
And what's up with that, Eggy? Sanji, when we'll go through all the bounties. I can't believe we're 2 hours in and haven't even read the bounties.
Haven't even talked about that, yeah.
Sanji's bounty is not a photo. He's too quick. They couldn't snap a photo. It's just a sad drawing, Eggy. What do you think of this?
Well, I did accept the possibility, I forget who mentions it, that they just forgot to take the lens cap off. Like they're, it's like, oh, hey, let's take your pictures. Hey, Nami, take a picture. Oh, let's all celebrate. Let's get a picture. Haha. Like that makes sense for her. And like just forgetting to take the lens cap off for Sanji, and that it would just particularly irritate him because he's drawn like some kind of, he kind of just looks like how I learned to draw like faces by watching YouTube videos, just like draw the skull shape and this like very overexposed eye because you're like drawing it like really large to, get all the features in. His like big curled eyebrow. It's, I got a kick out of it personally. I also liked how the other Barati used the bounty as a like advertising tactic. Like, hey, this guy used to cook for us.
We've got Kaya saying, oh, I can't wait to nurse Usopp back to health when he gets home. And even the children of the Usopp pirates recognize him just from a photo with his nose in it, when this whole time Luffy and Chopper still have had no idea.
Yeah, and I like how they're going to make their own Sniper King masks. The Usopp legacy in his hometown continues to reverberate throughout all the youth and helping them chase their dreams.
Whoop Slap, the mayor from Luffy's village, is still being a bitch. God, he's bringing a disgrace to our village. Oh, the most famous, infamous pirate we've ever had. You shouldn't celebrate that. What a bitch.
I enjoyed, how Cocoa Village, they're like, oh, this is a hot picture. Like, Genzo has this giant, like, wall-sized.
Yeah, he's pretending that it's too lewd, and then he has the giant, most blown-up version of the photo ever. Like, wasn't that like your daughter figure, Genzo? I don't know about that one.
Yeah, weird shit going on there.
Should we read through these bounties, Aggie? Were any of these shocking? Luffy is up to 300 million berry. Zoro's up to 120, so he's just above Luffy's post-Alabasta bounty of 100, I think. Robin, I thought, was the strangest one. As a child, she had 79. And now, after all this Enies Lobby shit, it only went up by 1 million to 80. After all that.
Like, my question is any of this dependent on the things that the characters actually do within the story? And also, who is setting the bounties? Who's, like, reporting on them? Who's, like, keeping track of how much they should raise by for the actions?
If the Marines are basing it on how much of a threat they are to the world government and the Marines, Robin, I mean, we just had an entire 100-chapter arc about how desperately they want Robin, but now they're saying Zoro is 50% worth more money now. Zoro's 40 million berry more valuable than Robin. Robin should have like 1 billion. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a plot hole. And she's like a famous assassin, extremely deadly.
No,
like, even in terms
right.
of power, it should be vastly higher. She might be more of a threat than Luffy.
Definitely at this point, yeah.
Sniper King gets 30 million. What do you think of this? Isn't that what Luffy's initial bounty was? Like, Usopp now matches East Blue Luffy.
It was interesting because, I mean, really what he brings to the table as far as his contributions to Enies Lobby is that he, shoots down the world government flag, possibly the most, 6-star wanted level GTA thing he could do.
Yes.
And he uses his power to shoot the keys over to free Nico Robin. So I think it's a healthy amount for considering that he only just did, he wasn't causing a lot of collateral damage. He was really just acting very precisely to get done what he aimed to do. So I think that it seems like the right amount for me. Nami, I guess she was there. She's an accomplice.
She beat up Khalifa. That's pretty good. 16 million for Nami. Sanji was 77 million. Franky gets 44 million, and now that he's a Straw Hat, it's relevant. But what about Chopper? He goes fucking monster Chopper mode. The most physical strength of any Straw Hat we've seen. 50, not million berries, 50 berries. Like a joke. You could buy a piece of candy for this.
50.
It doesn't even seem worth printing.
No.
Maybe
the paper is worth the paper and ink is worth more than the bounty itself.
They're probably just trying to finish the set. They've got the whole Straw Hat crew, so they need to finish the set of them.
Just so I can hang them up on my wall.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Aggie?
It just seems so
Is it because he's an animal? Do they see him as a pet rather than a threat?
Yes, but I feel like if they're educated enough to know what actions each Straw Hat crew member has taken, that then increases their bounty corresponding to what exactly they had done. I feel like they would have to know more about Chopper than what they are kind of inferring they know. I don't know.
Is Kumadori straight up dead? Because he's the one who should be reporting on that reindeer thing is terrifying. Do not let them get away with that one.
Yeah,
he must be dead because he got thrown into the town square that then got blown up by the Buster Call. So he might be dead.
We've had a lack of lethality to this point, but there was, which also gets touched on. I was going to say the Rob Lucci's younger days in the massacre that transpired. That gets touched on one of the chapters in the SBS. So it says, Rob Lucci, he determined it was a unforgivable sin that these people were weak enough to get captured, so they all had to die in order to prevent them risking being captured again.
Is that what Israel should do, is just kill all of Hamas's captive Israelis, and then, hey, now we can do whatever we want? shouldn't have got captured. Like Donald Trump said, I like soldiers who don't get captured.
Right. That's pretty true, and they've blown up ships that were friendly to them before, I hear, so maybe it's not too out of their scope, but...
Yeah, Erich, we can't go one episode of this show without talking about Israel and comparing it to the world government.
Oh, wonderful.
That's kind of this show's whole deal so far. And how we think Oda agrees with us.
But my last point on Chopper's bounty, I think either there's foolery afoot, like somebody's intentionally keeping it low, or there's going to be something in the at least next 2 volumes where there's a correction made. But I just feel like, to me, it just seems like it would make sense. Like, if they know everything else, how are they missing this? I feel like something's going to give, or maybe I'm completely wrong, but in my heart of hearts, I feel that's how it should be.
I'm going to say it's a plot hole. It's complete bullshit. Robin and Chopper's bounties logically should be much higher based on what they did and what the government knows about them. Oda, do better. One other thing we need to talk about. I just had it. What was it? Do you guys have anything while I try to remember it?
Well, my good friend Boss Man Jack is out of prison.
Oh, I got it.
To have a relevant and modified quote of his that goes into some interspecies behavior that transpired on Water 7. Damn, that fishussy nice. So there you go.
We get the reaction of the Alabasta Kingdom that Nico Robin joined Luffy's crew, and Vivi, they're like, oh, Vivi, she's not gonna like this, but Vivi, she trusts Luffy. Trusts his judgment, says, hey, you can't ever predict what he's going to do, but if Luffy likes her, who cares that she held my kingdom hostage and worked with Crocodile? I guess she must be all right. So I like that attitude from Vivi, that she trusts Luffy's judgment of character, and she's not going to be a little bitch about it. We can't have our girls fighting. My 2 ultimate waifus of Alabasta, they need to be friends.
Right. And I think it's good to set the... keep everything on the rails for that possible future, that possible Luffy x Vivi OTP.
That's right. The Pirate King and Queen. Let's make it happen, people. Aggie, do you have any general predictions for the future? What we're going to see next volume or in any volume?
Well, I'm thinking next volume. I don't think we could leave Blackbeard and Ace on a full volume hang. I think that we're going to need some more of that in the next volume. Like I said, I don't know if Ace is going to have the wherewithal, or if that's what his approach that he's looking for to do a full 1v5 combat right now, or if he's going to have some back and forth and they're going to split. Is he going to flame off? If Blackbeard's powering up a little too harsh, tactical retreat. In any case, I'm feeling some of that coming in the next volume. I'm thinking, however, the Thousand Sunny is going to navigate getting to Fishman Island. I am going to predict that there's not going to be any... I think they're going right there. They might run into something on the way, for maybe a chapter or 2, but I don't think they're going to have any major, full stops preceding Fishman Island. That's going to be my prediction. So I think, boom, they're on their way. Maybe
Sanji's going to get those mermaids he's been dreaming of his whole life.
That's right.
Can't wait.
So I think the Ace and Blackbeard fight could maybe fill a couple chapters in the next volume, maybe a little bit of space in between the traveling of the Thousand Sunny, and maybe some hijinks just between the crew, getting some things figured out. That might be a chapter.
Meet some Austrians in the Florian Triangle.
That's pretty true, yeah, it could be.
Okay, Erich, any thoughts without spoiling the future?
Lot to look forward to. Some interesting...
Do you like the arc that's coming up for us that we're going to spend some time in?
Yeah, I like it.
Me too.
You could say I like it.
Aggie, are you a fan of Michael Jackson's Thriller?
Thriller.
I really like that one, that College Humor or whatever it did, where they just have all the music gone and it's just Michael walking. It's
Are you a fan of Jurassic Park?
I'd like to think so. I wouldn't say maybe I'm a super fan. I'm a fan of the concept for sure.
Okay.
And maybe I should be a fan of Jurassic Park because if we go to the Cat in the Hat Car Museum, they have like a Jurassic Park section.
Oh,
Or, like,
good. That'll be good.
the Jurassic
What do you
Garden
think
or
of
whatever that's on the
musicals?
same property.
Musicals, that's not till like chapter 900. We have a little bit of
Okay,
time for that
okay.
one, for the bad
got
end of
some time
musical.
I see.
Erich, thank you for coming on. Do you want to come back maybe in another 10 volumes? Because Biggs did promise he'll be on for volume 50, completely out of context because he's never watched or read One Piece before. And I did check ahead once he agreed to that to see, what's Biggs going to enjoy in volume 50. And it almost, just like how this was the perfect volume for you to come on, I think Biggs is going to have a lot to enjoy in volume 50. It's actually an extremely good volume.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to come back. That's great.
Yeah, maybe volume 55, unless Heartsy takes dibs, and then you might have to wait for volume 60.
I should try to read the entire thing while I'm waiting to catch up. And
it is
Read
worth
all
it.
1,000.
It's worth the read for sure. Anything you want to plug, Erich?
Yeah, you can just find my letterbox, Revan138 on there. You can also find me. You already mentioned the Purple Colonel cast, all the various shit that he does on there, and then Izakino. Check it out.
Aggie, what are we plugging this week?
Well, on the other things, I've been plugging this.
Was that your Squidward fucking voice?
Maybe Squilliam?
Well, let me see.
We could plug that. Hey, maybe next week we will record the Skypiea character arc tier list or whatever character tier list for members only. That's right, more Measly Crew exclusive content coming. So go subscribe for that. $3 a month here on the channel.
So we're trying to go to Australia for no particular reason. So, each subscription helps greatly, to be quite sincerely honest, supported too. Big ups to the Measly Crew. Big ups to Bazoom 93 for being a new crew member. Make sure you're smashing the like button. Leave comments down below. We need comments to respond to. Call us names or laugh or tell us your life story, whatever. Something that makes sense for us to read. We would love to read it. So just think about it.
And this is definitely our longest episode. I didn't even stall for time. We just genuinely had over 2 hours worth of shit, and I knew we would because my notes for this volume were insane. We will see you all for volume 46 in the Florian Triangle! Oh, damn! One Piece, people.
Check it out.